And so you're gonna have governments that'll take a view. You're gonna have companies that are gonna take a view. You're gonna have other companies like Block, and Block is going to say, well, we want to be better than Apple or Google, and so Block will ship the BitKey, and Block will embed Bitcoin support into Cash App. And Block will do that in the United States. But Block doesn't operate in China. And there's going to be a company in China, and they're going to think, well, maybe we'll just copy what Block does, and we'll just do it in China. And that's going to work for them because the Chinese government's probably going to make it very difficult for an American company to do what American companies do in China.
I remember when Bitcoin first clicked in my mind, there was only one thing I could say to myself.
Which was?
Buy Bitcoin now.
Wow. Tell us why.
Because there's very few things on this earth that have this level of durability, scarcity, ease of transfer, multi-functionality. Is that a word?
Multi-functionality.
Multi-functionality. I was going to coin that one if it wasn't already existing. But with no further ado, someone else that will highly recommend you buy Bitcoin now is Michael Saylor.
These are, and so there's going to be a lot of views there. Then there's 330 million companies in the world. And you know a few of them. There's Apple. When Apple encounters Bitcoin, and they're one of the more important companies in the world, 1 billion people rely upon them. When Apple encounters Bitcoin, I think they may look at it and think, well, wait a minute, Bitcoin, multi-signature, cloud, what if we actually make the Apple Watch a signing device and combine it with the iPhone and combine it with the third signing device on a laptop, and then we do something with the cloud, and Apple becomes a bank that has hundreds of billions of dollars of assets in it, and we secure that via the Apple Cloud. And I suppose if Apple does that, then Google will take a different view. Well, we don't want Apple to do that. We want that to be done in Android. And at some point, Samsung will say, well, wait a minute, Samsung phones are used for Android, and we can put the secure element in that, and we'll take a different view. And at some point, you're going to have Qualcomm say, well, wait a minute, we provide the chips that are used in these phones, and maybe our chip, maybe it ought to have a Bitcoin miner in it, or maybe our chip ought to have a secure element to store your cryptographic keys so that our chip can be the right signing device. And then you're going to have all the Chinese companies, and the Chinese government will say, well, you know, maybe we don't want Apple and Google to do this, and we want our companies, Huawei, to do this. And so you're going to have governments that'll take a view. You're going to have companies that are going to take a view. You're going to have other companies like Block, and Block is going to say, well, we want to be better than Apple or Google, and so Block will ship the BitKey, and Block will embed Bitcoin support into Cash App. And Block will do that in the United States. But Block doesn't operate in China. And there's going to be a company in China, and they're going to think, well, maybe we'll just copy what Block does, and we'll just do it in China. And that's going to work for them because the Chinese government's probably going to make it very difficult for an American company to do what American companies do in China.
Double up.
Champion.
Sprinkle some seeds on the head of these people.
As you can see.
Yeah.
As you can feel it.
You can feel it in your soul.
There is that new technology. Remember when the Windows operating system came out?
Yeah.
And people started running into buying Windows. I mean, the Microsoft was the stock at the time.
Yeah.
There are multi-millionaires today that make a lot of money from jumping into Microsoft that heli.
Yeah.
This is what we are going through again.
I agree.
The security future of Bitcoin, the money future of Bitcoin, the infrastructure design of Bitcoin. It was going into some details there.
Yes.
That is why it's saying this is why it clicks. I better get in now.
You know, getting in now is probably one of the best things anyone can do. I know many people think that they're late to this thing, but they say it's better late than never.
Oh, I can afford it.
Yes. Getting in now is really making a statement that you want to transform your financial situation. You want to transform how we interact with money.
Hello.
Okay. You want to transform the way our economy functions today. You want to transform security. Now, if you look at some of these things Michael Saylor is saying here, and if you also roll back on our channel, you will see that speaking about Bitcoin adoption has been something that we have been absolutely relentless on doing, whether it's speaking about our sharing our views on Bitcoin on the African continent, or sharing our views on how we see Bitcoin evolving over time. I mean, show them now.
The
African
paradigm shift.
continent. I'm not even wearing my African wristband today.
Paradigm shift. Stop it.
Exactly. And it cannot be stopped. So when we see someone like Michael Saylor saying these things, this is a person who has leveraged himself up to the eyeball in the name of Bitcoin. Okay.
Put yourself up to the eyeball.
In the name of Bitcoin. Okay. Well, and he's a very smart guy. This is not the first time he's been right about things like this in the tech space, right?
It's actually the longest standing CEO.
Exactly.
The man was going to retire until they found Bitcoin.
And he will probably forever be the longest standing CEO now, until the day where it is only natural mortality that will catch up. Because his company is so deep in Bitcoin. I mean, as you can see, they take actions that would typically devalue the shares of a company. But
the stock is still going
because of Bitcoin, we are seeing the inverse reaction to that.
By the way, watch out for the 10-to-1 split on MSTR.
Coming to a Robin Hood near you or something like that, or whatever, a broker near you. Right? I mean, Michael Saylor has spoken about Bitcoin as digital gold. Some people have also taken that view, except for Peter Schiff. He's also spoken about Bitcoin making it to $10 million, which is a bold prediction. Looking at it as an inflation hedge, I think for us personally in our lives, we can tell you that it is functional. I will point to our 401k strategy, right? And it's not something that we are just speculating on and telling you about it. We are living it. So it's the reality. Having it as part of your corporate treasury.
He's doing it.
He is doing it.
Michael Dell from Dell is starting to do it as well.
Okay. Isn't that Tesla? Still has some Bitcoin in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you really have to ask yourself then, why do you not own Bitcoin? If some of the biggest companies here are owning Bitcoin already, a lot of them are researching how they can get involved in Bitcoin. There was a point in time when there was no Bitcoin ETF. There is a Bitcoin ETF now.
IBIT.
It's safe to say this thing is not going anywhere.
Yes, sir.
It's safe to say there is only going to be more adoption over the next few years to come and far into the future.
What are you waiting for?
Well, we cannot give you financial advice,
says the SEC.
But at the same time, does Bitcoin fall under the financial sector
Zero security?
as we know it? Is digital gold, if you advise someone to buy physical gold, is that financial advice?
Ask the SEC that question.
If you ask someone to buy a Hellcat, is that financial advice?
Oh, yeah.
So, with that being said, from what I remember, Bitcoin is a commodity, is it not?
That's
Something
what I
like corn.
believe.
Listen, I could come onto this channel, I could advise you to buy a camera or buy some corn.
Sprinkle some crumb.
I think Bitcoin is the same thing. It's something to think about. What do you think?
Well, we can say so much about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But we're here just to tell you that people that are way smarter than you and your papa are seeing the future.
Yes.
And we are reading into it as well. Don't
Man.
sleep on it.
We are living it. We
Yes.
are already on the train. All we need is more money to buy more Bitcoin.
Before it pops.
Exactly. Now, before we close this video out, there's one thing I would like to point out here.
Yes, sir.
And this is absolutely critical. You see, Bitcoin is this asset that is not controlled by anyone. There is no CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, we understand very clearly the problems that it's trying to solve. Michael Saylor spoke there about Apple looking into signing features,
Mm-hmm.
right? Using
Security.
Bitcoin. So there's that security feature,
Banking on Bitcoin.
right? And it is still a financial asset.
Mm.
So we see the use case and we know that it is absolutely untouchable.
Yeah.
I was going to say unfuckwithable, but
Here you go again,
You know?
making up words.
yeah. But at the same time, you must also pay attention to everything else that is going on around, right?
Mhm.
We have things like Ethereum
Mhm.
and a lot of other things out there that are promising solutions. But,
Mhm.
Simplicity is also the greatest sophistication or the ultimate sophistication, right?
Yes, sir.
Because as you can see, this man was able to sit there and just lay out to you use case after use case, and none of them are far-fetched. They're as realistic as can be. You can see Cash App already implemented Bitcoin into its system. There are banks that are also implementing Bitcoin into their system.
Mhm.
I have not seen banks that are implementing Solana, Ethereum, and all the others. So just something to think about. I know they might still be there at some point in the future, but we must acknowledge that this is something that is here now, it works, and it is ready for greatness. That's all I have.
Champions, thanks for watching us today.
Until next time, peace out.
And like and subscribe.